Salam, salam. Inshallah, everyone is doing well. So, big announcement. Alhamdulillah, I'm so excited and so overwhelmed to share with you the news that my new book, Gate to Medina, is finished. Alhamdulillah, it's uploaded, it's ready to go. I have the author's copy here with me. You can see this strip that says not for resale. It's kind of annoying. I wish I didn't have it so I could show you the beauty. But this is what it is. A Gate to Medina, Regaining the Art of Islam. So rather than just make a video and be like, hey guys, buy my book and all of that, I thought I would share with you in a couple of videos the process of how I went from an idea to doing something like these note cards, to actually putting pen to paper and having a draft, and then from that, finally, to a finished book, which, you know, for an author, I think it's important that you know a little bit about the process, because I don't want you just to take the book and read it and, you know, it's how many pages? It's not that long. It's 125 pages, so it's not that long. You could read it probably an afternoon or over a weekend and be like, okay, that was nice, and just chuck it. I want to share with you a little bit, because I put a lot of myself into this book. So this is like one of my children I'm putting out there. So I thought maybe it would be helpful to give you some you know, kind of behind the scenes, or I want to share with you the journey. Why am I writing this book? So let me read to you what I wrote in the back, because I feel like I'm mumbling. I'm just so overwhelmed with emotion right now. So this is what I write on the back, how I choose to introduce the book to all of you. Gate to Medina tells two stories. The first is the rise of different versions of fake Islam, in parentheses, Islamology, and the great gap they helped create from the late 18th century onward between Islam as a religion and Islam as a civilization. The second is how to mend this gap through regaining, quote, the art of Islam in its dual form of independent creative mastery, buttressed by deep spiritual insight. While not meant to be an academic work per se, those concerned with the details of many of the claims laid out throughout these pages will find copious references and a full bibliography to help guide you. The story of yesterday, while important to understand today, need not be the story of tomorrow. The journey ahead is open and bright if we but choose art over sentimentality. That's the best way I could, in just two or three quick paragraphs, share with you why I wrote this book and how we got to this book. So what I'm doing is, let me talk about the process. I'm the kind of author or the kind of thinker where something's really got to bother me before I get to the point where I'm going to actually write something down on like some note cards. Look, I mean, even if it's like a longer quote, I'll type it out and print it. Something's got to bother me enough that I get to this point. So maybe in another video, I'll show you I have a couple of boxes full of these. I don't want you to think that every single thing I read, I put on a note card. I'm not going to act like I do that, because sometimes you read a book and it's good and it's important, but you kind of file it in a general thing. Other times you read a book and you're like, whoa, you know, almost every single page has a note or a mark or something is underlined. That book, when you put it away and you come back to it, you're like, that book was really important to me. Then I want to remember these things. And then there are authors that I like. There are figures that I'm interested in. So those are the ones that I capture. And over the last, let's say, 10 years, you know, I've been doing this, because there was a gap when I finished my PhD dissertation, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a writer or an academic. And, you know, we can talk about that another time. But anyway, I came back like full force. So I started making these note cards. So I have all of these. I have thousands of these. And they represent for me things that I think are important, that I find interesting, that are important for me to remember. So those are like the Wikipedia, you know, that's like the data, the information that's important to me. But then there's something that bothers me inside me. And for me to be able to share with you what bothers me, I have to be true to myself. And that's why I think it took me a long time to come to write this book, because I think a lot of people that write about issues related to Islam today, sometimes we think we have to write what is ideal, or what people think I'm supposed to write. That never really works as a writing project. Rather, you have to write what's important to you. So for me, a fundamental part of my makeup is that I am very much into the performing arts. That was how I studied in high school. Very little bit into college, but mainly in high school. I acted, I sang. I sang opera in college. I had a voice coach. I mean, you can't tell that now because I didn't practice. I grew up playing the piano. I adored going to the musicals and the theater when I was younger. I loved seeing Shakespeare. I acted in Shakespeare. That's part of my big. I can't erase that. That's who I am. So I use the performing arts, oftentimes the concept of a symphony and a conductor and an orchestra. And I say to myself, the orchestra, like they're like tuning in the beginning, and each instrument, each instrument's like kind of like punching out the difficult notes, and then all of a sudden the conductor stands up there, he just makes a motion, and then everyone comes into line, and then the most exquisite music happens. That, as a young boy, as a young man, that was always very kind of one of those experiences that I couldn't. I used to go to the Kennedy Center with my mother in downtown Washington, D.C., where I grew up, and I used to, see the symphony and stuff like that. That's part of how I grew up. So when I got to study Islam formally, first in the university, and then when I went to al-Azhar, that example came back to me. When I found a coherent Islam, an intelligent Islam, a spiritual Islam, a rich Islam, a sophisticated Islam, to me it was like that conductor and the symphony. All of these notes are playing the right way, the right notes, and it sounds beautiful. But why does Islam sound not beautiful? Why are there so many ugly versions of Islam? What I end up calling Islamology. I'll talk about why I use that term in another video. That really bothers me. It bothered me in the past, and it really bothers me today. I mean, it really, really bothers me, more than you can imagine. So that's the fire that I had to kind of get going, and it's always deep inside me. Why does Islam look so bad, smell so bad, sound so bad? Why is it so off-putting? Why do people come to the mosque and have horrible experiences? Why do people get yelled at from the minbar? Why can't anyone really connect? Because my Islam is this beautiful thing. It's my safe space. It brought out the greatest creativity and the greatest spiritual experiences that I never even thought I could experience as a human being. So that's my understanding of Islam, and the books that you see around me, usually when I record, I'm in my library because it's kind of the quiet spot where I can do that without everyone running around. But these books, each book that I have tells a story where I remember each single book, where I got it, why I got it. You'll find, bookmark. You'll pick up a random book. You'll find like a random, a receipt or something that I use for a bookmark or a note card, and that's my understanding of Islam. But when I interact with people and I get to travel a little bit, not just in the United States, but elsewhere, even in the Muslim world, that's not what people's experience is like. So that's something that always bothered me. But I was unable to bring that out because I didn't have the right categories. And that's where I go back to sort of something like these note cards. It's by reading widely in things that interest me, not necessarily Islamic subjects per se, that gave me a broader understanding of how to express what has been bothering me for decades. And that's what finally leads to at least the first part of the book, or the first part of the story, and a gate to Medina. So the other lesson, or the other thing I want to share with you all, is the importance of reading wisely. I absolutely love Mozart. So I have in my bookshelf, maybe 4 or 5 of the key biographies of Mozart. I haven't read them all, but I used actually one in writing this, and they're quite thick. And I mean, I can't think of a better classical composer or music. I can't. I mean, he's unbelievable. He really, literally is unbelievable. And the movie Amadeus, which came out when I was in high school, or it came out, I think I was in middle school. I mean, I have seen that movie at least 30 times. I watch it maybe once a year, at least. Because it's just unbelievable. I mean, the music is unbelievable, the soundtrack. As a matter of fact, I listened to the soundtrack as I was actually writing. When I was at this stage writing, I kind of listened to that soundtrack almost on repeat because it kind of helped me focus. So I read a lot of biography about Mozart. I love early American history. I read a lot of, and the Civil War. I read a lot, as you all know, I talk about Shelby Foote often. I love Tolkien, and I read Tolkien. All of these people, I love Marcel Proust. I love Shakespeare. All of those things that I just mentioned make them their way into this book. And that's what I meant about being true to myself. That's how I think. That's how I am. I have multiple interests. I don't just read Islamic law all day long. I probably should read more Islamic law because that's my main sort of function in the community, and I'm a teacher of Islamic law and usul al-fiqh and things like that. But I don't, because sometimes the mind can only, only take so much law. And I love reading that other stuff. Recently, I read all of the canon of Shakespeare. I made a little video about it. I was interviewed about it. I read Tolkien periodically, whether it's The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. I've gone off now to read some of his other writings. Those things are very important to me because as my perspective was broadened and it was deepened in certain subjects, I was able to pick up the categories and the concepts that I needed to be able to, for my frustration to flow through them, to come out into a coherent argument. And that's really the key that was missing. So in this video, I just wanted to share with you that much, that one, there's the book. I wanted to share with you the journey, a little bit of the journey from, just an idea to kind of writing down random ideas. Finally, something clicks, you put it down and you write, you get to like a manuscript, or there's an outline. I can't find where my outline is, but then you have a manuscript and you go through this like a gazillion times. I think this one I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times I had to go through this. And then finally you're blessed where you get something published. There's still some errors here. I got to fix a couple of things before it goes live. It'll be available on Amazon. And then you get a book that you can share with people. So this is a little bit of the journey to the gate to Medina, part 1. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days, time, where I'll share with you some more behind the scenes. Be well, stay safe. Talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.